not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
What's up guys, welcome back to Titus TV. Today we're talking about the very best weapon that you can use early game to do the most damage possible. As usual, I'm going to use real data to show you why it's the best. And if you enjoyed the video, be sure to smash that like button so that this information can help more people. So let's dive right in. The character that I'm playing is a level 1 character from my challenge run, so I require the strength knot tier to use either one of these weapons. As you can see, I also use the spike crack tier for the additional 15% on charge attacks. Now if you want every detail of my level 1 one-shot build, just head over to the channel and watch my secret level 1 one-shot build guide. The purpose of this video is just to show you the absolute best weapon that you can use early on. So let's get into it. So if you're going for the max possible damage that you can do to a boss in order to try to one-shot a boss, the Rusted Anchor is going to be it early game. We gain access to this very early on in the Weeping Peninsula, and I'll show you the location here in a minute. But there's a couple things that set this apart from other weapons. The biggest of which is that this is a great axe that happens to have the pierce damage type instead of the standard damage type. It also happens to have more raw damage than any other pierce weapon, including the colossal sword, the Zweihander. And I'll get more to why pierce is important in a second. And prior to affinities, the standard version of this weapon is absolutely insane damage-wise early game. For the purpose of showing that, I'm going to show the weapon in the same category that has the highest raw damage in the game, which is the Longhaft axe. Now as you can see with no affinities, like heavy for example, which is what we would want to use normally, and just a standard affinity on there, the Rusted Anchor actually out-damages the Longhaft axe early on. Now that tiny difference in AR is not really a big deal, because once we get the Iron Whetblade from Stormvale Castle and can use the heavy affinity, the Longhaft axe is actually going to do more damage. However, even with more AR, the Longhaft axe is going to be severely out-damaged by the Rusted Anchor. And this all comes down to that pierce damage type. Pierce weapons can do what is called a counter. A counter is when you attack an enemy with a pierce weapon while they are already in an attack animation. The game gives you a 30% damage boost every time you perform this, which I think is why most pierce weapons have inherently lower damage, like the Zweihander. And maybe it was an oversight that they put pierce on this great axe and left the damage so high. Either way, you should definitely take advantage of it. We can actually take it a step further with the Spear Talisman, which provides 15% more damage to counterattacks unique to thrusting weapons. However, the way that buff stacking works in this game, it ends up being 49.5% damage. Because when buff stacking in Elden Ring, you actually multiply the buff by the previous buff, which means the applicable maximum damage of the Rusted Anchor is always going to be higher because of that additional 49.5% damage. So here I want to show really quick the difference when we put the heavy affinities on these two weapons. As you can see, the Rusted Anchor jumped from 417 damage to 436, but the Longhaft axe jumped from 395 all the way to 441 damage. But that extra 5 AR does nothing in the way of trying to cover the ground of that extra 49.5% damage from the counters. Even with the Axe Talisman, it doesn't cover enough ground to get close to the arena of the maximum damage possible with the Rusted Anchor. And I'll show you the math really quick to prove it. Remember early on we only have one Talisman slot. So if we use the Rusted Anchor with the Spear Talisman, we would see that 436 damage increased by 49.5%, which would be 652 damage. With the Longhaft axe and the Axe Talisman, we would see that 441 damage increase 10% to 485 damage. If you're trying to maximize your damage early on, there's no comparison to the Rusted Anchor with a counterattack. Now the other good thing about the Rusted Anchor is that it's accessible extremely early. You just come down here to the Weeping Peninsula and you go to the Morn Tunnel. This is an early game area and it's a very short tunnel to the boss, so you don't even need to fight anything. The boss that drops the Rusted Anchor is just a Scaly Misbegotten. This is a video of me one-shotting him at level 1 on my challenge run, and I did this with the Duelist Great Axe, but I barely used any pre-buffs because I didn't really need to, so the only thing I used was Golden Vow, Ash of War that you can get in Limgrave, and the Flame Grant Me Strength, which you can get just east of Limgrave at Fort Gale. Again, if you're interested in this build, I just posted the video. It's called the Secret Level 1 One-Shot Boss Guide, and that guide should answer any and every question you might have about building a level 1 character. And for those of you wondering where the Spear Talisman is, you can find that in the Lakeside Crystal Cave, which is on the southern end of Liurnia. Again, if you're ever wondering on an item location, head to my website and go to the item location page. You can go in that table and search for any item you need in any of my builds, and it'll take you to a quick 30-second clip on how to get there. And that's it, guys. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, be sure to smash that like button and help me get it out there to more people. And if you still got questions, head over to my website, TitusTV.net. It's basically an Elden Ring video wiki. We've got build guides, we've got location guides, we've got farming guides, we've got area route guides and wrong warp guides. I always keep the wrong warp page up to date so the current patch, what's accessible. And if you need more immediate assistance, come by the Discord. We're always there answering any questions that you might have. Alright guys, enjoy. Stay dangerous.